Any guesses to where this picture is from? Athens, Georgia. Any guesses of where this picture is from? You would think it's somewhere where maybe kudzu isn't totally understood and there isn't a long history of kudzu, but that's actually from Nara, Japan. And Nara, Japan is also where the world's most renowned kudzu root starch comes from. And it just so happens that Nara and Asheville are very close in terms of I call it parallel latitude, right? Any guesses where this is from? There's a little clue. The Yoshino region, Nara, is very similar to a lot of parts of Appalachia, and why the most renowned and high-quality kudzu root starch comes from this area is because there are the 4 seasons, and so the root generates a lot of starchy goodness during the time when the rest of the plant is dormant. And this is a little bit of kudzu root starch processing in that region. A lot of the elder Horiko-san root diggers are dying, and less knowledge is being passed down to learn about the cultivation and harvesting of the roots. Meanwhile, the starch as a probiotic and other parts of the plant as herbal and pharmaceutical ingredient, that interest is increasing while the harvesting of the root and raw material is diminishing where it's from. So come back over here, kind of a little zip over, and this is Western North Carolina, Madison County, Marshall up on the left, and Silva down on the right. And so Zev Friedman on the left and Justin Holt on the right started kudzu camps out of being curious in the region about the potential for learning more about kudzu as a regenerative resource for fiber, food, and medicine. And here's Zev and Justin on the right testing out some bitters recipes a few years ago. And on the left is the Book of Kudzu, where Zev and Justin learned a lot of what then they continued to teach during kudzu camps, which are held biannually now for 12 years. And Zev and Justin first started the camps at Zev's childhood home in Silva, which is here. And then I started to join them because I had heard about their work through mutual friends and had known Justin. And during that time, I had been exploring more about the fiber processing, and then learned about the fine fiber processing, the bast fiber, from Zev and Justin, and then became part of that. What became Kudzu Culture became part of that group, and started integrating more of the kudzu fiber into my own personal art practice, and experimenting with the bast fibers and other parts of the plant for experimental woven materials and paper that I included in a body of work that I continue and is my ongoing practice that's called If We Are Natural, Then What Is Nature? And that's a question that explores the fallacy of that delineation. We are animals in a habitat, and isn't it good to know that we are actually needed? Some of our species made choices around planting kudzu in the southeastern United States to address extractive practices of overlogging, overgrazing, and other extractive industries. And now we are actually required to be participating in consuming, whether it's through use or material or consumed use. Again, here's a side-by-side. On the left is nearby Nara, Japan. On the right was Madison County, North Carolina, where we've also joined forces with Fiber House Collective, and this is Nico Rabinowitz from Fiber House, where now we're building on learning how to process the fine kudzu fiber, and now we are weaving cloth and hosting annual kudzu camps. Some people came from Michigan during our last camp last summer for Kuzu Fu Vine Camp, and Mike on the left, who's pretending to be like a kudzu monster in the picture. Mike and Kaylin came from Michigan, and Mike happened to be a linguist studying ancient Chinese, ancient poems written 3,000 years ago. And he asked me to make a brush out of kudzu fiber. They were staying at my house for kudzu camp. I said, oh yeah, of course. So we made a brush, and he wrote out some of these poems. So the knowledge about kudzu has spanned so long, and there's just so much to learn from people through time, through place. Here's an example, though, of how, if we're thinking about it like this is not how to address how kudzu's growing. We really have to get below the surface and understand more deeply what's happening and how to harness that growth. Here's an example of where that's happening with RiverLink along the river. We're teaching people how to harvest vines for use for woven materials like basketry and wreath making and other things, and then simultaneously rebuilding the population of river cane along the river. And so through Kudzu Culture, we are now providing raw material aggregation and ingredients for some different local products, and we hope to be scaling our kudzu starch processing in the next couple of years to be able to meet demands of global kudzu supply chain. So here's us with our little spoons from sampling our delicious kudzu snacks, which we have when we work. So dig in, and a little bit does make a difference. And if we're all engaging as conscious and reverent animals in our habitats, then we really can do something. So thank y'all for listening.